melanin, melanoon, male, monitoring, evaluation and learning. Amun means to have full power. Chemistry realignment. This is carbon's fusion design of melanoon.
So I decided to go into the scientific understanding of these things we call herbs. And what we found, that there is nothing on the planet that assimilate and could be of usefulness, save that substance is electrical. And the only electric substance on the planet is a natural plant. Not comfrey, golden seal, peppermint, aloe vera, and the rest. They're hybrids. But how many brothers and sisters in America or anywhere in the world qualifies to offer a challenge when we have nothing to test that which we are given for validity? No, I do not subscribe to melanin or to comfrey. So we have to again go back to the drawing board. The Usha research disregard the word melanin. For instance, if melanin determines life, why is it then that when people come to us with nerve problems, with energy problems, we give them the substance known as iron? It is a mineral. Straining that iron with carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. The CHO chain is the chain of life. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Melanin has no place in that biochemical structure. So I'm very extremely
God is up. This is Chemistry Realignment, and we are on SANKOFAS time. Albinos are precious, for they have been our greatest teachers. Albinos truly have done a phenomenal job of doing what they are doing, and we have learned the most important lesson of life, recognizing what leads to life and what leads to death. By knowing death, we come to truly appreciate life and all its blessings, expansion, love, warmth, sweetness, etc. Thus, albinos have given us unparalleled lessons in polarity. The divine spark of within each of us is called the soul after soul and solar. Part of our soul education involves experiencing both polarities of the universe, positive and negative. Albinos have amply provided all of humanity, including themselves, with intense experience of the negative polarity. So, how does one know life and how good life is or should be, unless one knows also or experiences death and how bad it is? By albinos being who or what they are and living accordingly, they are showing us our destiny if we proceed along the same path as they are. Such a destiny ultimately leads to two things: loss of will, which is the ability to choose and feel, or total death, both physically and spiritually, the real death. I trust we have learned our lessons and are now ready to graduate by awakening and choosing to heal ourselves. Albinos can choose to heal also. Albino healing is possible, and albinos' unconscious terror of genetic annihilation as documented by Dr. Francis Crests in the ISIS papers.
Classification of people, not as determined by Francis Welsing, but as determined by white people themselves. As your classification, either you are white or you are classified as non-white. This is on your birth certificate. This is on every paper of identification that you had. And this focus on skin coloration, I maintain, is based on the awareness on the people who are now in power, that they are a minority. The white group represents a minority in the world population. And the color focus is something that is a psychological, I say a psychological necessity based on a genetic reality. So I don't know if this gets to your question. Now, any other thing that one might say that results from the absence of pigment, I mean, that's another discussion. I don't know whether you want to go into.
Well, following that.
Again, albinos can be hailed by their accepting themselves into the human race. They are the ones that have divided the world into white and non-white. Their re-assimilation into the human family will not be an annihilation, but a healing and rejoining of themselves back to their roots. For skin whiteness is an aberration, a mutation, yes, a dis-ease. They realize this to some degree, else why are they always trying to tan themselves and they think they are more beautiful with a tan? They have even invented melanin injection shots. Among people of color around the world infected by color prejudice, the lighter ones view themselves as better and superior to the darker ones. This stems directly from mental and physical colonization by whites who started the whole thing based on their secret fear of being inferior
So they are
to
deficient
people of color.
in these nutrients from 5, 4, 10,000 years ago. So they continuously
Especially black
were eating
Africans.
plants that were deficient of these nutrients. And when you're deficient of certain nutrients, each nutrient controls a form of behavior. If I take away your selenium, you will become sterile. Because selenium is highest in concentration in the male system, where the testicles is, in the sperm, selenium. So is zinc. That's why long ago they told brothers to eat oysters. They were after the zinc, you see. And that's the highest concentration is in the sperm. The highest concentration of vitamin C is around the semen. That's 8 to 10 times higher than the vitamin C that's in the systemic floating blood system. So these vital nutrients were not in the soil of the Europeans. Therefore, nutritionally, their behavior could only be one of unstable personality, violence, aggression, easily irritated, and then added on to this deficient soil, we have a pineal gland. I'm going to go to the board again. The pineal gland, that's the one that makes melanin. And when you're deficient, their pineal gland is 60 to 80% non-functional, whereas African people have a 100% functional pineal gland. Pineal gland is a gland that is in the center of your brain, and it makes the brain cell for all the cells in the body. It is the master gland. Without it, nothing happens. Nothing. All they tell us is that the pineal gland makes black. But they do not tell you that without the pineal gland, there's no nucleus to any cell in your body. If your pineal gland is very active and stimulated, you can make yourself darker.
Melanin in the brain increases from the lower primates and reaches its peak in the black human. All humans possess this black internal brain evidence of their common black African origin. The all-black neuromelanin nerve tract of the brain is profound proof that the human race is a black race, with many variations of black, from black to white black, all internally rooted in the vast sea of brain blackness. Humanity may differ in outer appearance, with variations of colors, but internally, they are all black, all African at the core. The question for all humans is how to relate to this blackness. A transformation process requires first, the right heart or feelings, and profound African knowledge is taught in ancient African universities. Today's racist is afraid, ignorant, of his and her blackness, choosing to run from the ancestral black core. Today's reborn black masters will accept their blackness, become unified with the universe, and be inspired to creative genius at levels that surpass the pyramids. Dr. Richard King, African Origins of Biological Psychiatry. The third ventricle holy chamber where the new child fetus is formed by self-affirmation. I am self-reproduction. The third ventricle being the tomb within the body into which has passed the Holy Spirit, soul, mind through jet black melanin, doorway to become holy body, facing God.
Scientists tell us that human beings evolved in Africa, and that these human beings carried in their skin and other organs of the body a brown chemical called melanin. Melanin in the skin protected early human beings from the damaging ultraviolet rays of the African sun. For more than 100,000 years, the black face was the only face on the planet Earth. For more than 100,000 years, these melanized human beings shaped the human personality. But protecting early and modern human beings from the cancer-causing rays of the sun is only one of the functions that melanin serves. For the next 3 Sundays on For the People, we'll examine this complex molecule, which is the chemical key to life, the chemical key to knowledge. Our guest is Mr. Karu Barnes, an organic chemist who, for the last 14 years, has done polymer or plastic and rubber research in the chemical industry. Mr. Barnes has been a melanin researcher for the last 7 years.
Melanin, for the common person, we normally recognize it as the pigment that we find in our skin, in our hair, in our eyes. And that's about all that we see of it. And we basically look at it as just there as being a cosmetic thing. So the layperson really looks at melanin as just a coloring, a pigmentation. But when the scientists look at it, it's a very, very involved, very highly complex, very functional system.
What role did melanin play in the early stages of human development?
Well, if you look at this thing from the known things that are set, scientific facts that are set today, you think of man evolving out of Central Africa. You think of man evolving near the equator, where there's high intensity of heat, lots of free radicals produced, things of that sort. So nature had to come up with a system that would be universal, something that would look at one particular parameter that was detrimental to man existence, and that is heat. Now, how do you protect an individual from heat? And just one aspect of this whole thing is the ability of this polymer to absorb energy. Okay, so it was a protectant as far as all of the harmful energies that was created outside the body, or they were exposed to outside the body. Internally, as man evolved, he was exposed to many bacteria, many viruses, many diseases, and therefore you would need something that could counteract those things and help this particular species to survive, to perpetuate itself. And you see many chemical and physical properties of melanin that really points toward that particular thing. It's a system, it's a drug, it's a medicine in itself that helps to heal wounds and things of that sort. So in the early development of man, as far as a protection device from external environment as well as internal environment, and then providing the necessary mental, brain power, the mental capabilities to create and build things around him to help with his survival.
God rising. We are up. Peace to the gods. Let's dive into The Antichrist by Dr. George W. Karu. Let's go. Primitive Christians that seems fully realized and taught the great truth that Christ was a substance, an oil or ointment contained especially in the spinal cord, consequently in all parts of the body, as every nerve in the body is directly or indirectly connected with the wonderful river that flows out of Eden, the upper brain, to water the garden. The early Christians knew that the scriptures, whether written in ancient Hebrew or the Greek, were allegories, parables, or fables based on the human body, fearfully and wonderfully made. Thus, adepts knew that the secretion, black matter creative, that secretes from the cerebrum was the source and the cause of the physical expression called man. And they knew that the river of Jordan was symbolized in the spinal cord, and that the Dead Sea was used to symbolize the sacred plexus at the base of the spinal column where the Jordan ends, typifying the entrance of Jordan into the Dead Sea, the thick, oily, and salty substance composing the sacral plexus. Kuda Akina, tail of the horse, may be likened unto crude petroleum, petra, mineral or salt, and oleum, Latin for oil, and the thinner substance, oil or ointment, and spinal cord may be compared with coal oil. And when this oil is carried up and crosses the Ida and the Pingala, two fluid nerves that end in a cross in the medulla oblongata, where it contacts the cerebellum, the sea of Ra, the bell of Om, Golgotha, the place of the skull. This fluid is refined as coal oil is refined to produce gasoline, a higher rate of motion that causes the ascension of the airship. When the oil, ointment, is crucified, to crucify means to increase in power 1,000-fold, not to kill. It remains 2 days and a half. The moon's period in the sign in the tomb, the cerebellum, and on the third day ascends to the epiphysis cerebri, which is the pineal gland known as the eye of Heru, that connects the cerebellum with the optic thalamus, the central eye, and the throne of God, that is the chamber overtopped by the hollow or hollow caused by the curve of the cerebrum, the most high of the body, which is the temple of the living God, the living vital substance of Amun, which is a precipitation of the breath of life breathed into man. Therefore, the holy Ghost or breath The pineal gland is the pinnacle of the temple, the MO, modus operandi, by which the oil of the spinal cord reaches the pineal gland is described. There is no name under heaven whereby ye may be saved except Jesus Christ. And then crucified, correct rendering of the Greek text is Christ with an ED. Every 28½ days, when the moon is in the sign of the zodiac that the sun was in at the birth of the child, there is a seed or psychophysical germ born in the or out of the solar plexus, the manger. And this seed is taken up by the nerves or branches of the pneumogastric nerve and become the fruit of the tree of life, or the tree of good and evil. Good if saved and cast upon the waters, circulation, to reach the pineal gland, and evil if eaten or consumed in sexual expression on physical plane, or by alcoholic drinks or gluttony that causes ferment, acid, and even alcohol in intestinal tract. Thus, no drunkard can inherit the kingdom of heaven. For acid and alcohol cut or chemically split the oil that unites with the mineral salts in the body and thus produces the monthly seed. This seed, having the odor of fish, was called Jesus, from ichtos, Greek for fish, and Nun, Hebrew for fish. Thus, Joshua the son of Nun, I am the bread of life. I am the bread that came down from heaven.